Good afternoon. A man is in custody after a woman's body was found in a bath filled with acid in Sydney's northwest. Nine reporter Sophie Upcroft has been following the story.
Officers have a man in custody at Bankstown Police Station, questioning him as we go to air following the death of a woman in this North Parramatta apartment complex yesterday afternoon. Police were called to this address following reports of a domestic disturbance. When they broke down the door, they found a woman in her 20s in the bathtub filled with acid. Hazmat crews were called in to assist with the complex and confronting scene. The victim lived in this apartment with her husband. Neighbours have told us that they heard what sounded like screaming earlier in the day.
I was in the backyard yesterday and at about 2 o'clock I heard somebody, it sounded like they were about to sing, and then it turned straight into a bit of a scream, but it was only abrupt, it was only short. And then it stopped. So I didn't think anything of it.
The cause of her death is not known. We're expecting a post-mortem will be held either later today or sometime tomorrow.
After a more than 20-hour manhunt, the victim's husband has handed himself in to Bankstown Police Station. His truck was seized from Greenacre a short time later. He is now in custody. No charges have been laid.
Military-style operations have been underway today to get New South Wales school students equipped with rapid antigen tests before many of them start class tomorrow. Bianca Balzer was in Sydney's south earlier, where a drive-through rat pickup was set up.
It's back to school week, and along with the uniforms and lunch boxes, it's these rapid antigen tests that are a must-have item on the equipment list. Lucas Heights Community School is one of the many starting back tomorrow, so the teachers here are spending today handing out rats to families in a drive-through pickup at the front of the schoolyard. Parents say it's been a streamlined process with all the efficiency of a military operation.
It was all pretty easy, really. Just pulled on in, pulling out. So yeah, it was all good.
Of course, I'm excited for them to go back to school, but we're happy to have picked these up. It was nice and easy, and they'll do it tonight.
Of course, this term there are some new school rules, including 2 rapid tests a week for the first month of term, and masks are also compulsory for students over 12. But despite the precautions being taken, there is expected to be an uptick in cases as kids get to mingling again.
We have some pictures coming in from our chopper. This is an emergency rescue mission that's underway at Little Bay in Sydney's southeast. Paramedics are trying to save a 9-year-old who was washed off rocks while fishing with an adult. The child has been airlifted to a nearby golf course. We'll update the situation shortly. Well, hundreds of anti-vaccine protesters have descended on Parliament House in Canberra, forcing police to defend the front doors. Politics reporter Eliza Edwards joins us. Eliza, the action has been building up over the past few hours.
Yeah, Mark, it culminated in a rush of protesters at the front entrance of Parliament House about an hour ago. Conversations with police and threats of rain eventually dispersing the crowd, but earlier in the day they were making a lot of noise. A convoy of trucks blocked roads around the building as protesters voiced their grievances, calling for an end to vaccine mandates. While these views are in the minority, discontent with the government is more widespread. The latest news poll shows the coalition is now 12 points behind Labor in a contest between the major parties, also trailing on the primary vote, which has slipped to 34% from 41% in the middle of last year, while Anthony Albanese is closing in on Scott Morrison as preferred Prime Minister.
The pattern of behaviour is that the government's complacent. The government sits back and says, she'll be right, mate.
The Australian people are giving us a kick up the rear end at the moment, and, you know, we haven't got everything right.
Mark, this poll result follows a summer of frustration for Australians, and it's causing angst among coalition MPs with an election due in the next 4 months.
Eliza, thank you. Well, parents of school-aged children will soon have access to accommodation and activity vouchers. Up to 5 $50 vouchers will be made available from next month per household, similar to the Dine and Discover vouchers. In addition, those over the age of 18 will get a $50 voucher to spend on accommodation across New South Wales. The move is to encourage people to continue to support small and local businesses after the school holidays. Well, a very tired but overjoyed Rafael Nadal has fronted cameras after his record-breaking win in the Australian Open last night. Adam Hegarty is live at Government House for us. Adam, Rafa was overjoyed to be holding that Grand Slam trophy 21.
Mark, absolutely. Look, very tired, Rafa Nadal, and very sore as well. I caught up with the tournament director, Craig Tiley, here only in the past few moments when the media opportunity had finished up with Rafa, and he can go home and have a sleep because we're informed by Craig that Rafa only had about an hour or an hour and a half sleep last night before he fronted up here today after that 5.5 hour epic final last night. So a lot of recovery for Rafa now, but he responded to a lot of questions, particularly about how he can, at 35 years old, front up against the much younger Daniil Medvedev and come out with that 21st Grand Slam title, officially on paper, making him the greatest ahead of Roger Federer and, yep, Novak Djokovic. Here's Rafa, here's what he had to say.
I was trying to sleep a little bit, but it was super difficult tonight. But yeah, the satisfaction is just impossible to describe. Now, for me, it's just amazing to have this trophy with me.
So moving on now, a lot for Tennis Australia to review at the 2022 Australian Open. Of course, well documented the Novak Djokovic saga, and then we've had a bit in the past few weeks and even last night about the overzealous and excited crowd. Daniil Medvedev didn't like that too much. And then last night in the final, we also had this, a 19-year-old woman, we're told, with a refugee detention banner, so a refugee activist demanding they be released. She got on the court, escorted away by security, and she's expected to be charged this afternoon. Craig Tiley, he spoke here this afternoon. He addressed it. Here he is.
Hard to think this has actually really happened, and everything else that happened in between. So it's been an amazing 2 weeks, and I think everyone's going to look back and reflect and say they've probably witnessed the best sporting event in the history of our game.
Mark, a very, very big call, but it has been a very up and down 2 weeks at the Oz Open.
It was a great night. Adam, thank you. Tons of emergency food and supplies have touched down in flood-stricken Coober Pedy this afternoon, airlifted by the RAAF ahead of another torrential rain event in South Australia's far north. The flights carrying essential items and non-perishable food will arrive in the town after major road and rail infrastructure was damaged by floodwaters.
We now have more than 18 breaks in the rail corridors in South Australia. There are no trains going north and there are no trains going west.
We cannot get people past that Glendambo blockage, and we're continuing to work with that.
6 flights are scheduled to leave Adelaide over the next 24 hours, with more on standby for when the flooding emergency worsens.